Thank you very much for that. And it is very fascinating to hearing us talking off on different subjects and bringing up everything from things from baseball references to poppies and Armistice and Veterans Day. And this has been very, very cool, you guys. And I'm sorry you didn't have any veterans poems, but that was a great way to have a lot of interesting stuff going on here at Poetic License, which you guys probably can't even read. But anyway, I was going to share with you 3 poems to close out Poetic License. I usually would read from the most recent issue of Literary Magazine, so I'm going to share with you 3 from the end of Down in the Dirt. I think I'm see a man walking up who is, I think, watching live a little bit earlier on there.
Yes, I was. any veterans poems?
Oh, would you like to share?
I can't think of the one, but you wrote it about my time over when the Mariel boat lift, but...
Oh.
I don't...
Well, I don't have that one around me handy.
Okay.
So, if you'd... oh, geez Louise.
Don't worry about it. Then.
Okay. Sorry, but yeah. Well, he was just remembering that that he was actually stationed for when they were bringing people in from Cuba. And they like, well, you have to do something with them, and so he's like, they were taking them up in boats and or in buses and like cattle cars where they were sitting on benches, and then they arrived there, and his job was to sit there and make sure that their air conditioners were working while they were being tested for drugs and medication, make sure they were okay, and he wanted to go off and talk to them. And they're like, you're not allowed to do that. And so all he could do was sit there and watch all these people that are sitting there waiting like, this is what freedom is? Is this what it was? And there's a poem about that, to that effect, of a story of what he went through in doing that, which I gave you the general gist of, but I'm sorry I don't have it on me. But I was going to read fun ones and interesting ones from the back of this issue of Down in the Dirt magazine, and I'm looking for them right here. Ha ha ha. And I found a photo from one. These are goofy different ones for the end of this issue that I'm sharing with you. This first one is called Zenotro. It's not ricotta. Doctors found a large ovarian cyst in a friend of mine, still in her early 20s. She was scheduled for surgery to remove it, so the weekend before, I thought she needed to get away. She needed a pick-me-up, so we flew to D.C. and stayed with my friend. Now, my friend worked on the Hill, and he didn't know my girlfriend, so he just gave us the keys and said that we can make it on our own. And we saw the Smithsonian, we toured the town, took buses to one place to the next. Now, when this city girl got on a D.C. bus and sat down, I thought we'd have a moment of peace. Until a disheveled man, an older black man, walked right over to us to talk. And the first thing he said, the first thing in my head was that this guy was homeless, but I'm trapped here with him in this bus, so I would try to avoid, how do I avoid him asking me for money? But there was no escaping him, and he looked right into our eyes and said, "Can you help me?" And I didn't want to answer. I was out of my element. And then he pulled out a newspaper, crinkled in his grasp, and he said, I'm doing this crossword here, and they want a 7-letter word for cheese. There's an O and a T, but they're in the wrong spot. A kind of cheese. It's not ricotta. Can you think of any other kind of cheese? And now, I don't do crossword puzzles, and I couldn't even think. So I just think me and my friend was just a little too concerned for her own safety, and so we both just said no, and he said thanks, and he turned to ask someone else on the bus, and kept repeating, a kind of cheese. 7 letters. It's not ricotta. And so we turned back to staring out the large glass panels on the bus, trying to soak everything in that we could before we could still hear that din of the people talking, and this disheveled man still asking strangers about a crossword clue. I think I looked over to see him accosting another woman with his forwardness, but when he stopped asking, she looked down, and then she meekly said, "Cottage?" And as soon as he did, that's when this disheveled man turned into this bombastic, boisterous behemoth. He was just thrilled with this one word that he needed. Cottage? cottage! It's cottage! Thank you! And then the bus slowed down to a stop, and the man kept repeating the words as he got off the bus. Cottage! A 7-letter word for cheese! Cottage! And I even watched him walk down the street as our bus pulled away, seeing a new animation in this old man's step. That's so goofy. I'm sorry, it's just a goofy story. But since I'm more inclined to do this, I have lots of issue pieces. I have one that is a short one on the page, and there's a picture of a live performance of it on here as well. This one is titled, quote unquote, Love for Your Government. This was an interview with a woman. I don't know what country she was from, but she was being interviewed, and this is what she said. The one thing that made me want to escape to America was watching the movie Titanic, because I couldn't understand why people in the movie would want to die for love. Because love, for us, meant to love your leader, love your government, because they saved you from the evil Americans. This was the only love I knew. My mother never said, I love you to me. That was unheard of. There was only the love for your leader. I went to school, I'd come home, and I'd only hear of the love for our leader. Nothing else. I want you to understand this. There was nothing else than this quote-unquote love for your government. No love for your family. And that's why I had to leave, to truly find love. As I said, there was a tiny picture from when I was doing that live in here, and I have to show it in color. I'm trying to show it for you guys so you can be able to see it. It's kind of hard to figure out, and it was Halloween time, as evidenced by my wearing a skeleton outfit for the feature for that year for it. But this last one is another humorous one because I wanted to find something humorous to be able to end it with for you guys. This one is titled Meningitis 6 Feet Under. And I need to preface this because oftentimes, you know, Lorna was saying, oh, I'm saying the word shit. And I was like, well, we try to keep this G to PG. I think I say a swear word in this, but I just saying it's just for humor and in song. So get a kick out of it. This is called Meningitis 6 Feet Under. The bar was called O'Malley's. And it wasn't really my kind of a hangout. The music was a little too 80s metal for this industrial proto-goth girl's taste. But my best friend from high school, my once roommate, sharing a home is where we learned we're nothing alike, and she loved the place and she told me to join her. And the one thing I remember about this dive bar that was a half flight below street level was the one thing that made it feel like home for the regulars was that at midnight the music changed, and like clockwork they then played American Pie. And now it's just a song. It's a song before I was born, but everyone stopped whatever they were doing to dedicate the next 6 minutes of their life to singing this song, completely drunk with everyone else. Now, as I said, I didn't know this song. It was before my time, but when in Rome, you guess the words, mouth the verses, and the more you do it, the more you belt out the chorus like you're a regular. Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. But since I found this new home with new friends, we even altered the words for the rest of the chorus together. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and beer, singing this'll be the day that I die at O'Malley's. This'll be the day that I die, getting drunk with my dumbass friends. And yes, we were all friends, but we were all drunk, so dumbass was truly a term of endearment. And singing these inane song lyrics was all well and good for this proto-goth, but working for a local newspaper and seeing emblazoned in the headlines the story of someone then who contracted meningitis at a local bar that was 6 feet underground Well, everyone in town knew exactly what local watering hole spreading infections they were talking about, with floors that were covered in spilled beer. Later on, they changed their name to 6 Feet Under, spelling it out for those who didn't want to think. But when I think of this watering hole, I don't think of the beer-soaked floors spreading diseases. I just think of a bar, not one that's quite my style, and singing a song that brought everyone together.
Don McLean went to Iona College, where I went.
Really?
And the last stanza of that is terrific.
I was gonna, you keep going with that, but I want to interject. We did a live concert, acoustic, John and I, in Round Rock at a wine bar, and the last song we did was that song. So I learned it, and John's like, "You're doing it nothing like the original," and I'm like, "Well, it's just us an acoustic guitar. Cut me some slack." But the owners even were stepping out from the kitchen and thinking that was kind of fun. So I do remember a lot more of the words than I did then. But please go back to what you're saying.
The four men I admire most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, have left for the coast.
They caught the last train for the coast the day. Yep, exactly. Very, very cool. And yeah, and that's a love of music. And I know that was about when the crash with the Big Bopper and everyone, and we won't talk about the song anymore. It was just a fun, goofy little thing to be able to do together, which on some levels, as we're sitting here talking, it becomes a fun, goofy thing that we're able to do together here as well. And I want to thank each and every one of you. I don't know the time. We're getting close to the end anyway. So I don't know the beginning of the month because I'm doing a live feed, so I can't check it. But the first Sunday in December would be our next get-together. And I would love to be able to hear from each and every one of you. Does anybody have any last-minute news that we'd like to share with the group?
Well, just one more. With McLean, he was very active with river keepers on Hudson River, and for a while was extremely close to Pete Seeger, who was the musical guy that put that all together.
Well, that's awesome. Very, very cool. And thank you for the input. Yeah.
December 3rd.
December 3rd. It's 1/2/3 or 3 DEC if you're in the UK. And I try to spell it out appropriately for everybody. And I get my little sign here, but I'm being a goofball, I know. And thank you very much for being a part of this month's installment of Poetic License. You guys are triple plus awesome. And I think we're all good, are we? If we are, we're all saluting like like my husband in the Purple Marine. I guess thank you all so very much, and I'll see you guys next month here at Poetic License. Thank you.
Well, and we're gone.
Yep, thank you. Thanks.